What's up, guys? This is Silent Rob, and a lot of people have been asking to hear my opinion on Led Zeppelin and to rank the Led Zeppelin albums, and that's what I'm going to do in this video. And this gives me a good opportunity to really discuss this band because I've never really talked at length about Led Zeppelin, at least not in a video format. I may have mentioned them a time or two in a stream, but I think really what it comes down to is I don't really love Led Zeppelin as much as other people. And I think this video might anger some people because if you talk bad about Led Zeppelin in any conceivable way, dude, it's literally like you're talking about someone's fucking mother or their firstborn child, or kicking a newborn baby in the face right in front of their parents after the mom just delivered it and shit. Like it's just you cannot do it. Like there's this, but I feel like that's kind of stopped, recently, and I'll get into that as to why. For me, I felt this way about Led Zeppelin for a while, in that I wouldn't even put Led Zeppelin in my top 10 of 1970s rock groups. I don't even think they would be in my top 20. And I grew up listening to Led Zeppelin. I mean, they're all, all over the radio. My dad listened to them all the time. But there's a few reasons why I never got into this group as much as other bands, even as a kid. One reason being that I really don't care for blues type music in any way, shape, or form. And a lot of the early Led Zeppelin has a lot of blues influence on it, and I just don't really like that type of music, dude. Like, it's just not my thing. Um, and yeah, they became more rocky as time went on. And those are my more favorite albums, the ones that are more rock than blues. But it's just not my thing. And the hits have been run into the ground, and the hits that they do play, a lot of those in recent times, it's come to light that Led Zeppelin has kind of ripped off a lot of their songs from other groups. Now, we're not talking inspiration here because rock bands always take inspiration from other groups and inspiration here and there for their songs and stuff. This is full fledged theft, okay? Plagiarism here that we're talking a lot of this. As a matter of fact, Led Zeppelin just recently settled a case about Stairway to Heaven, and it's one of those things where usually I don't believe this shit. Like there was one that was like Barry White. Barry White's estate's always suing every little thing. I'll probably get sued even bringing up Barry White in a video because their estate's always fucking suing everybody all the fucking time, and the songs never sound anything like Barry White's songs. But in this case, the song that they said was ripping off, that Stairway to Heaven was ripping off, it was pretty fucking close. And this has been happening a lot lately. Led Zeppelin is some thieving ass motherfuckers. And, it's really pissed off a lot of my music loving friends, dude. Like, it literally is just like, they feel like they've been betrayed. Luckily, I haven't loved the group as much as other people, so I've, been able to take it. But, yeah, there's some thieving ass motherfuckers, and it's been with like groups that they've gone on tour with and stuff like that. So it's undeniable that they're taking these riffs and song structures and stuff like that. But like I said, I don't think they would be in my top 10. I don't even know if they'd be in my top 20. You know, I listen to bands. My favorite groups are like Kansas. I love Kansas quite a bit. I love Yes. King Crimson. I listen to more progressive rock type stuff and always have. Whereas this, straightforward blues rocky stuff that Led Zeppelin does. Whereas I got into it a little bit when I was younger. I can't. Like if I hear Led Zeppelin, if I hear fucking Stairway to Heaven one more goddamn time, dude, I'm jumping off the nearest roof. The taller the better, dude. I don't give a fuck at this point. I can't take it. And I don't even. Well, let's get into it, and I'll talk about these tracks as we go along. So Led Zeppelin has 9 albums, and that's kind of another thing that kind of rubs me the wrong way with Led Zeppelin is I don't really feel like they were around long enough to really be considered legendary. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that. I mean, Sex Pistols are considered legendary, and they had like an album and a half. You know what I mean? They had nothing, like one album or something, right? I mean, barely anything. Um, there are bands that are able to do. I mean, same thing with Nirvana. They had like 3 or 4 albums and they're considered legendary. I don't really feel that way. I feel like bands need to be around a little bit longer, and Led Zeppelin isn't quite to that. You have 9 albums, and honestly, they started in 1969, and technically their last album came out in 1982, but really they were pretty much done by 1975. So you're looking at 6 years of actual music, so you're looking at 6 real albums and then a bunch of fucking garbage. So let's get into it. At number 9, we got Coda. And, if Coda isn't your dead last, I don't know what the fuck you're smoking, because you need to give me some, because you're living in an alternate fucking reality that I'd like to see what it looks like, because Coda is just, it's a bunch of B-sides, it's a bunch of dog shit. Coda never should have been released, and the only reason it was is because Bonham died, and the record label was basically like, here we are in the 1980s, and we don't have a single Led Zeppelin album. We got to have at least one. So they scraped together these fucking warmed over leftovers that have been in the back of the fridge and rotting away for who knows how long. With a bunch of dog shit like "I Can't Quit You Baby," which is actually a live fucking track, and then you have "Ozone Baby" and "Darlene," which are probably the only 2 listenable tracks on here, and then a bunch of fucking dog shit like Bonzo's Montreux. Dude, look, I don't think I've ever been able to sit through the entirety of Coda, front to back, without skipping around. And it's when it's only 32 minutes, that's saying something. Number 8, these 2 albums are so close. I mean, you can pretty much interchange them. I mean, some people will just be like, how can you put Presence above In Through the Outdoor? And other people are like, how can you put In Through the Outdoor above Presence? Dude, they're just differently sized turds. It don't even fucking matter. Dude. Okay, one's just diarrhea, and the other's a turd chunk that just floats back up after you flush the toilet over and over again. I mean, both of them are not appealing whatsoever. I mean, so I guess I would say after so we got nine's Coda, and then 8, I'll go with In Through the Outdoor, I guess. I mean, if you want to get a taste of what Led Zeppelin would have been in the 80s, I'm hoping they would have been better than this, because I feel like In the Evening and All My Love, it's kind of a little bit of a taste of what they were going to be like, and if that's the case, I'm not too impressed. And maybe it's good that they dipped out early, dude, because very synth heavy, very not good. You know what I'm saying? And all bands were really dabbling in this stuff in the late 70s, early 80s, but it's not good, dude. Van Halen pulled this shit. Van Halen, I'll get to that in the video. I don't even want to touch upon that, but Van Halen's another band that they were working against their strengths and using fucking synths all the time and doing fucking songs on, cover songs and shit all the time, dude. Like, it didn't make any sense to me, but I'll cover that in a later video. But yeah, In Through the Outdoor is a puke pile. That's number 8. Number 7 is Presence. Like I said, and the only reason that Presence gets a little bit of a jump on In Through the Outdoor is because at least Presence has Achilles' Last Stand on it. And even then, I don't love this song, I mean, it's not like it just pumps my nads to get Achilles' Last Stand on. It's okay. It's not one of my favorites. Number 6, we have Led Zeppelin I. Now, and I'm not even remotely saying that this is a terrible album. It's just, when I'm going to reach for some Led Zeppelin, I'm not reaching for the first album, dude. It's way too bluesy. A lot of the songs are just too slow. I mean, let's look through the track listing here. Okay, there's just too many fucking boring tracks on this album. I'm sorry, dude. Dazed and Confused is 6 minutes and 27 seconds, and it feels like it's like 25 minutes long, dude. It's fucking Dazed and Confused is so long, it's not... Okay, like, I don't even give a fuck, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the only thing I can say about Led Zeppelin is they kind of kept their songs out of movies, for the most part. historically, it was actually kind of cool that in School of Rock, that Jack Black was able to convince them to use Immigrant Song in their stuff. But so you didn't hear him in movies all the time, but you still heard it on the radio all the time, so it didn't fucking matter. And Communication Breakdown is a perfect example of a song I never need to hear in my entire life again. Um, completely over fucking played, dude. And everything else on here, I just it's boring and slow and not good. And Led Zeppelin II came out later the same year, and it was much better. But I'll get to that later on the list. Number 5, we're gonna have Led Zeppelin III. And this is gonna be another one. I feel like over the years, people have really grown to really like Led Zeppelin III a lot more. And when this first came out, people shit on it, dude. Like this was like the first taste of people being like, nah, we're good. When for Led Zeppelin, this album got shit on when it first got released because it's very folky, it's more acoustic sounding, and people have appreciated over the years for that as opposed to back then. But I just think a lot of the songs on here are just really fucking boring, dude. Like, I mean, everybody loves Immigrant Song, of course, but I can go my whole entire life without listening to Friends again, or you know, fucking Bronyar Stomp, fucking Tangerine. I'm just good on a lot of these fucking songs, dude. Since I've been loving you's okay. And Led Zeppelin's the type of band that will string out a song, dude. You know what I'm saying? And they'll find one riff and then they'll just stretch it to like 8 fucking minutes. And sometimes it works for them. A song like Cashmere or something, and sometimes it just doesn't work, dude. I don't. There's just no reason that Since I've Been Loving You needs to be 7 minutes and 25 seconds long. It's just ridiculous. So number 4, we have Houses of the Holy. I do like this album. It does have some pretty good tracks on it. However, there's only 8 tracks. So you better like most of the tracks, because if you don't like 1 or 2 of the tracks, I mean, you're left with like fucking, say 6 tracks, 5 tracks. I mean, it's not much. And this is the way it was back in the fucking album record days and shit like that, when you only had fucking 20 minutes per side on a fucking record. So this album is a brisk 40 minutes, and it goes by pretty quick. But I do like quite a few of the songs on here. Song Remains the Same is great. Over the Hills and Far Away, which is historically, like, has to do with like Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. It was kind of cool that Led Zeppelin were kind of nerdy guys and shit like that, and was kind of singing about that stuff. There's not a lot of groups back then doing that stuff. Stuff like Dio and stuff came later, but I do enjoy that. No Quarter, Dire Maker. I'm not sure how to even say that song. Is it Jermaker? How the fuck I think it's Jermaker. I don't know if it's Dire Maker, Jermaker. I don't know. It's fucking retarded. I never knew how to fucking say it. Song titles that nobody could pronounce doesn't make any fucking sense to me, dude. And The Ocean is a good one. The Crunge I could probably do without. We could. I think we can all collectively agree that we don't ever need to hear that ever again in any shape or form. But you get the Rain song, and so it's good. This is where the albums start to really get good to me. But I mean, it only took what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 albums before I really start liking their albums. So I mean, out of 9 albums, when I could do away with fucking 4 of them right off the get, it's not really too good. And you can see why I'm not the biggest Led Zeppelin fan in the entire world. So number 3, we have Led Zeppelin II. I think Led Zeppelin II is the Terminator 2 Judgment Day type sequel to Led Zeppelin I. Much better album. Has a lot tracks that I really enjoy. One of my favorite Led Zeppelin songs is "Living, Loving, Made." I've always loved that shit. "Heartbreaker's" good. "Whole Lot of Love." "What It Is and What Should Never Be." We got the Lemon song. It's pretty good. We got fucking Moby Dick's gonna beat the fuck out of them drums, son. Okay, so way more tracks that I would rather listen to over the first album. Then we got number 2, which is the untitled Led Zeppelin IV. For the longest time, most people would probably say this is their best album, Led Zeppelin IV, but there's not really a title to this. It's kind of strange. It's untitled, or some people say it's Led Zeppelin IV. There's no actual title on it. I always find that strange. I mean, you go into a record store. I mean, of course, I didn't live in the '70s, but I find it strange to go into a record store and buy an album that basically just featured a guy holding a parcel of sticks on his back and nothing else, no writing of the band, nothing. I don't know what this homeless stick guy has to do with Led Zeppelin, but people flock to it, dude. I don't get it. It's just kind of strange. Um, but this has got some titans on it, dude. I mean, we're talking rock and roll, Black Dog, Battle of Evermore, Stairway to Heaven. That's an entire one side right there to the album. That's fucking epic. So that's no skips on that. Misty Mountain Hop, Four Sticks, going to kind of, okay. We're kind of losing me now. You see what I mean? When the Levee Breaks is great. So 8 tracks, 6 of them are classic. Not too bad. Um, I think the world could do without Going to California and Four Sticks altogether, but really fucking good. But like I said, I'm not the biggest Stairway to Heaven fan, dude. I don't really ever need to hear that song again. But I do love Misty Mountain Hop pretty good amount. And my number one is Physical Graffiti. It's a double album. It's got my favorite songs on it. I mean, even when I was a kid, dude, I gravitated towards Kashmir quite a bit. But I feel like Led Zeppelin is kind of a singles band. I kind of feel that's the same way with Queen, where Queen's best songs are mostly the singles and stuff they put out. They have some Queen's earlier albums that were kind of deep cuts, like Queen 2, that you don't really hear that I kind of love. But like Led Zeppelin is not a deep cut artist. It's really not. Most of the best songs that they had them on the radio. Like you're not going to really delve into their discography and find like some hidden gems. They're just not that type of band. Mostly because they just don't have that big of a body of music to even find hidden gems in. But we're talking The Rover, we're talking Custard Pie, In My Time of Dying, House of the Holy, which I always found it was really strange that Houses of the Holy is on this and not Houses of the Holy. It was just fucking bizarre to me. I remember buying the CD to Houses of the Holy back in the day, like when I was like fucking 13, expecting that song to be on it, and it wasn't. It's fucking weird. Why would they hold that back? It's a great song. It's just fucking. It even says here, House of the Holy outtakes. Fucking weird. But side 2 is House of the Holy, Trampled Underfoot, and Kashmir. I mean, that's a fucking album side right there. Side 3 you have In the Light. Bron Yar, which is an outtake from Led Zeppelin III, which Led Zeppelin III could have used that fucking song on. I like that song. But then, we start getting into the filler, dude, and, I feel like there's quite a bit of filler on Physical Graffiti as much as I love this album. I could never hear Night Flight again. Does anybody even remember Night Flight? Yep. They made a song called Night Flight. Okay, I've listened to this album 1.5 million fucking times, and I couldn't even tell you right now what Night Flight sounds like, dude. Same thing with Boogie with Stu. I've heard it 1 million times. I couldn't tell you right now what it sounded like. And that's actually a Led Zeppelin IV outtake, and they should have kept that an outtake. Sick Again. So essentially, side 4 and most of side 3 could be done with. So you're looking at a really, really solid single album. You just take Custard Pie, The Rover, In My Time of Dying, House of the Holy, Trampled Underfoot, Kashmir, In the Light, and Bronyar, and Down by the Seaside. And I think everything else could really go. You know what I'm saying? But not too bad. But you see what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, I need more challenging music than Led Zeppelin. I just don't feel like Led Zeppelin was around long enough. I would have loved to see what Led Zeppelin of the 80s would have been like, full stop. I feel like it might have been like In Through the Outdoor. I could imagine what Led Zeppelin would be like in the time of hair metal. I don't think that they would have went that route. I would have heard what they would have come up with, kind of like how Rush changed their sound. The same thing with Yes. But I don't know, and we'll never know, because they're one of those bands that they ended, and that was that, Beatles style. Okay. So it's kind of sucks. Who knows what we would have got out of a 80s, 90s Led Zeppelin. I mean, Robert Plant and Jimmy Page got together and did some music later on, but I don't know. We'll never know. But they're not one of my favorite bands. They're really not. And all the plagiarism stuff definitely puts a damper on that too. So you guys tell me what you want me to rank next. I'm really liking this. I'm editing my giant movie for you guys. I have a lot of stuff coming. Make sure you guys thumb up this, comment. It really helps me out. And I appreciate it, guys. Love you guys. Peace out.